What's the matter with you? What's the idea that you don't care with? Because what's the matter with you?
The rain was coming down in sheets when Elena Brooks pulled her taxi onto Meridian Avenue, wipers screaming against the glass, the backseat still warm from her last passenger. It was 11:47 at night. She had been driving for 16 hours straight. Her father's medication was due in 3 days, and she was still $400 short. She told herself she would sleep when the bills were paid. She had been telling herself that for 2 years. She never saw the black SUV until it was already through the red light. The impact folded the front of her taxi like paper. Elena's head snapped forward, the seatbelt biting into her collarbone, and for a moment there was nothing but white noise and the smell of something burning beneath the hood. Then the noise came back, rain, shouts, car horns, and she pushed open her door and stepped out into the wet street. The other vehicle was a $200,000 Mercedes, barely scratched. A woman stepped out from the back, tall, immaculate even at midnight, wearing a coat that probably cost more than Elena's monthly rent. She looked at the crumpled taxi, then at Elena, and her expression didn't change. "You ran the light," Victoria Langston said flatly. "The light was green," Elena said. Her voice was steady but her hands were shaking. "Your driver came through on red. There are cameras on this intersection." Victoria glanced at her phone, already dialing. "My lawyers will handle this. Don't speak to anyone." "I can't afford lawyers." Elena stepped closer. "That taxi is my job, my only job. I have kids at home." "That's not my concern." Victoria didn't even look up. "My assistant will send you a form. You'll be contacted." Something snapped inside Elena. Maybe it was the 16 hours. Maybe it was the medication she couldn't afford. Maybe it was the way Victoria said my concern, like Elena's life, was an administrative inconvenience. Her fist connected with the side of Victoria's face before she even knew she'd thrown the punch. The crowd went silent. Then 20 phones came up at once. By morning, the video had 4 million views. By afternoon, Elena had been fired, her license suspended pending investigation, and a petition was circulating online calling her dangerous and unstable. Her face was everywhere. Not the exhausted mother working double shifts. Not the woman whose only source of income had just been destroyed. Just the fist. Just the moment of breaking. She sat at her kitchen table while her daughter made toast and her son pretended to do homework, and she read the comments until she couldn't anymore. She closed the laptop and stared at the wall. Her father called from the hospital to say he had seen the video and that she shouldn't worry about him. He said it in the voice he used when he was very worried. Elena put her head down on the table and breathed. If you've ever felt like the world was designed to break people who were already bent, hit subscribe and stay with this story. It's just getting started. Victoria Langston did not get her assistant to send a form. She did not hand it to her lawyers and move on. She watched the video 17 times in her penthouse office on the 34th floor, and on the 18th viewing she paused it at the exact moment just before Elena threw the punch and she saw something she hadn't noticed before. She saw the look on Elena's face. Not anger, not violence. Something that looked a great deal like a person finally breaking under a weight they had been carrying alone for too long. She called her head of security. "Pull the intersection footage from last night." The footage was clear. Her driver had gone through on red. The accident was entirely his fault. Elena Brooks had been completely, entirely, provably correct. Victoria stood at her window for a long time. She was not a woman who apologized. She had built her company from a collapsed startup into a $3 billion enterprise by making hard decisions fast and never looking back. Apologizing publicly would mean admitting her first instinct had been wrong. It would mean the press cycle would reopen. It would mean showing something that looked like weakness. She told herself she would think about it. Instead, she thought about Elena's face. She put an investigator on it, not to protect herself. She told herself it wasn't that. She just wanted to understand who the woman was. The report came back in 48 hours. Single mother, 2 children, ages 9 and 12. Father hospitalized with a progressive kidney condition. 2 jobs, the taxi during the day, overnight cleaning work at a medical office 3 nights a week. No savings, no safety net. The taxi had been purchased on a payment plan that still had 11 months to run. The insurance payout, if it came at all, would take months. Victoria read the file twice. Then she closed it and went to a board meeting and said nothing. 3 weeks later, she drove to Elena's neighborhood herself. No assistant, no security, just a car and an address and the uncomfortable feeling of doing something she didn't have a name for yet. She was still sitting outside, working out what she was going to say, when she heard the explosion. It came from the building on the corner, a 6-story residential block, old gas fittings, the kind of building that maintenance forgot. The sound was enormous and low, more felt than heard, and then the windows on the 2nd and 3rd floors blew out in a cascade of glass and orange light, and people started screaming in the street. Victoria was out of the car before she made the decision to move. She ran toward the entrance with 3 other people, helping a woman with a baby, an elderly man who couldn't move fast enough. She got them out. She went back in. The smoke was thicker on the 2nd pass. She found a child on the stairwell, crying, separated from his mother. She picked him up and was moving back toward the door when part of the ceiling above her gave way and something struck her shoulder and she went down. She couldn't get up. Elena had been half a block away when she heard it. She ran like she hadn't run in years, and she saw the smoke before she saw the fire, and she saw the people coming out, and she was already calculating 3rd floor, 4th floor, who was still inside, when she saw a figure collapse in the building's entrance. She went in. The smoke was a living thing. She kept low, the way she had seen in every fire safety video she had ever half-watched, and she found Victoria on her hands and knees on the 2nd floor landing with a piece of ceiling timber across her back. Elena looked at her face for 1 second. Then she moved the timber and pulled her up. "My niece," Victoria said. Her voice was rough with smoke. "She was visiting apartment 41 and my mother." Elena was already moving. "Stay low and get to the exit." She found the niece, 17 years old, hiding in a bathroom with wet towels under the door. Exactly the right instinct. She found Victoria's mother in the apartment next door, disoriented, moving toward the wrong window. She got them both down the stairwell, one arm around each of them, the smoke so thick by that point that she was navigating by feel, by the memory of the layout she had built in her head on the way up. They came out into the cold air, and the noise of the crowd and the arriving sirens. A firefighter grabbed Elena's arm. "Is there anyone else?" She thought she counted. "No," she said. "No, I don't think so." Her knees went. The firefighter caught her. "Don't go anywhere, like this video, and leave a comment if Elena just made you feel something, because this story has one more turn you won't see coming." The media named her the woman who walked into hell. The video of her emerging from the burning building, smoke blackened, supporting 2 people who could barely stand, made the original Punch video look like a footnote. Victoria held a press conference 5 days later, her arm in a sling, her niece and her mother seated beside her. She did not use notes. 3 weeks ago, I told a woman at the scene of a car accident that what happened to her was not my concern, she said. I was wrong about the accident. My driver was at fault, and I was wrong to say what I said. I should have been honest immediately, and I wasn't. She paused. Elena Brooks went into a burning building for people who had done nothing but hurt her. I don't know what that kind of character costs a person, but I know I don't have it yet. I'm hoping to learn. Elena watched it from her kitchen. Her daughter sat beside her, eating cereal, watching her mother's face. "She's talking about you," her daughter said. "I know. Are you crying?" Elena wiped her face with the back of her hand. "It's the smoke. My eyes are still irritated." Her daughter leaned into her shoulder and said nothing, which was exactly the right thing. Victoria did not simply write a check. That would have been easy and it would have meant nothing. She paid for Elena's father's treatment in full. She cleared the payment plan on the destroyed taxi and replaced it, not with one vehicle, but a licensed fleet of 6, properly registered and insured, the seed capital for a micro-transportation cooperative in Elena's neighborhood. She offered Elena a leadership role, not a charity position, a real role with a salary and equity, building community transit infrastructure in parts of the city that private companies had abandoned. Elena took the meeting. She asked hard questions. She brought a notebook. She took the job. That was 8 months ago. The cooperative now employs 11 drivers, most of them from the same streets Elena had driven for years. Her father attended the opening of their second depot in a wheelchair, wearing his good shirt, telling anyone who would listen that his daughter had always been like this, that none of this surprised him at all. Victoria came to the opening. She and Elena did not hug. They shook hands and then stood side by side watching the drivers run through their first safety briefing, and Victoria said quietly, "I almost didn't stop that night. Outside your building. I almost just drove away." Elena thought about that. "What made you stay?" "I'm still working that out." Elena nodded. "Me too." One terrible moment does not write the whole story. Sometimes the punch that breaks you open is the same one that lets the light in. And sometimes the person who costs you everything is the same person who teaches you what you're actually made of. That's the story. If it stayed with you, subscribe. There are more stories like this one coming every week, and you do not want to miss what's next.